Hey, sorry for the interruption, but we wanted to let you know that this week's episode is brought to you by Spotify for Podcasters. Really cool app. Josiah and I use it for every single show that we bring to you every week. You can edit podcasts right from your phone or computer, so you can start creating as soon as you log into the platform. You can easily distribute your podcasts to Spotify and everywhere else the podcasts are heard, just like we do every single week. You can also create video podcasts on Spotify, which is really cool. And of course, you can earn money like I'm doing right now by including ads and even podcast subscriptions. And best of all, it's totally free. There's no catch. We really love it. We use it every single week. So we encourage you to go download the Spotify for Podcasters app or go to www.spotify.com/podcasters to get started. All right, let's get back to the show.
Welcome to this week's episode of the Print on Demand Cast. Each week, join Travis and Josiah as they provide insight into the print on demand industry and equip you with the tools, advice, and strategy you need to achieve success and hopefully have a few laughs along the way. Now, on to this week's show.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Print on Demand Cast. And yes, it does look a lot different.
This is weird.
This is weird. We're not used to talking to each other in person. So this is going to be probably a little more informal, but still filled with good information and knowledge and education for you, the listener. But Travis, we're here. We're actually recording live from Make Your Mark Designs, the shop.
Yeah,
I mean, we could at some point just take the laptop and give a tour, but here you are.
There it is. There's a bunch of presses there.
Time to make the donuts.
Yeah, it is. And for those of you who aren't watching on YouTube, well,
shame on you. I'm just kidding. It's a new thing. We get it. But you should go there and check it out.
Yeah. But yeah, here we are. We try to figure out where's a good place, because there really aren't very many good places in here. There's nothing that's beautiful backdrop or anything like that. So we tried to go back where there was color, like with the t-shirts and stuff. Yeah. It's a big warehouse, a lot of echoes.
Yeah. A lot of humidifiers and stuff going loudly in the background. So this was what we could do. Mm-hmm. And we'll get to why we're recording in person here in the actual episode. But for now, we're going to go to this week's point of interest, which features someone that joined the Facebook group.
Yeah.
Right here at printondemandcast.com/Facebook is where you can go to join the group. And this gentleman, John West, posted with some suggestions, some stuff we may have missed, and a couple other points of interest. And so we had him on the show for this week's point of interest for him to talk about PirateShip. So with that being said, let's go to this week's point of interest, our first guest-driven point of interest.
I know, it's crazy.
Which is crazy. Things are changing here. It's going to be fun. Here we go. This week's point of interest. You know what time it is. POD Cast coming at you. The point of interest. The part of the show with Travis and Josiah tell you something you should know. The point of interest. So grab your paper and pen and jot down some notes. Let the learning begin. The point of interest.
All right, for this week's point of interest, I'm actually solo this week. So Josiah couldn't record this at this particular time because I actually wanted to bring on somebody for just the point of interest this week. So I got John West.
Hello.
How you doing, man?
Good, Travis. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. So John actually commented in our Facebook group, and we got a link there. So if you want to join our Facebook group, it's printondemandcast.com/Facebook for those of you who are listening on the podcast right now. John actually came on one of our on our Facebook group and made a post about one of our last episodes about shipping, and he was talking about how we didn't really mention PirateShip, which is really, really, it's a really cool tool and really excellent for, people who are just getting started, even people that aren't in business that just want to ship cheaper. You could even get a PirateShip account. So John, welcome to the point of interest. And why don't you kind of share a little bit about PirateShip for our listeners?
Sure. So PirateShip is essentially just a free website where you can buy USPS postage labels at commercial rates. From what I understand, those are usually rates that you have to ship a certain volume of packages every month to get. However, you can do it, regardless of how much you ship. You can ship one package and get the commercial rate.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty slick interface. They have good support all around. It's just a pretty nice way to get access to cheaper rates than you might find otherwise.
And it also does, it has the ability to ship the first class, anything under 16 pounds, right? As opposed to the anything under 16 ounces, as opposed to the 12 ounce maximum that the post office itself puts on first class packages, right?
Right. Because it's technically, you're buying the commercial rates. It's your first class up to 1 pound.
Okay. Cool. And so tell us a little bit about the interface and how it integrates with a lot of these different platforms?
It does. At its most basic, you can just open up the website and type in an address and the dimensions and weight of your box and just click to buy a label and print it. But it also ties in with a lot of third-party marketplaces, Etsy, Amazon, Shopify, eBay. Those are the only ones I've used, but there's a whole list. And essentially, it can pull in your list of unshipped orders into PirateShip and then let you click and print a label, purchase, and print a shipping label for each one. And then it will send that tracking number for the label back to Etsy, Amazon, whatever, and mark that as shipped for you, so you don't have to go do that manually.
Okay.
It's pretty nice.
Yeah, you also mentioned, like, some people, when they're shipping on Amazon, they like to use Amazon has a platform called Buy Shipping, and it's Amazon's shipping platform that they have internally on their site. And the reason they like to use that is because if something happens to the order and the order actually shows up delivered, but maybe the customer says they never received it, Amazon will actually side with the seller if and only if they used the Buy Shipping from Amazon. So some people like to do that. What happens in PirateShip if you decide to use the Buy Shipping?
Well, essentially, if you mark the order as shipped in Amazon, or purchase the label in Amazon, which will mark it as shipped, it's just never imported into PirateShip. It just disappears from your list. So when you go to PirateShip and view your list of pending orders, you'll only see orders that haven't been marked shipped yet in Amazon. And as you mentioned, I don't actually use it for Amazon for the exact reason you mentioned, because I want that protection of buying the label from Amazon. And that really kind of saved me this last Q4, because I'm sure USPS had a lot of issues with lost and delayed packages.
Yeah, we lost a lot of money. So for those of you who are interested, ShipStation actually has the ability, if you basically have to kind of do it manually. You have to go through their support, but you can actually buy your Amazon Buy Shipping labels in ShipStation, but they charge you 20 cents extra a label just for the privilege of printing it out, which, when you're shipping hundreds of items a day, you don't want to, go back to your Amazon store for, and print those labels and then come to ShipStation. You just want it all in one interface. So for us, it made sense to pay that extra 20 cents, particularly because we were using Seller Fulfilled Prime at the time, and we had to use Amazon Buy Shipping. So that's cool. So PirateShip, it's free, is that right, John? There's no monthly charge or anything like that?
It's free. There's no monthly charge, and I don't think they mark the rates up because it matches what you can get directly through Amazon or what you can get for first class through Etsy. So I think it's just the base USPS commercial rates. Wow.
I wonder how they make money.
No, I mean, maybe they do mark it up. Maybe they have a better rate, but it's it's the best rate that I think I could qualify for, and most people could qualify for until you start hitting big numbers and go beyond base commercial.
Right. Yeah, I think for someone starting out, it sounds like it's an excellent way to, like you say, get those better rates without that volume. And it's free to sign up, right? It's free. I mean, everything's free, right? They can just go and sign up and get an account and start shipping tomorrow or today.
No monthly fee. You're obviously charged for the labels you purchase, but that's it.
Cool. Well, John, thanks, man, for coming on and, for first of all, for posting in the Facebook group, for being, bold enough to put yourself out there and create that post and say, hey, you didn't talk about PirateShip. That's awesome. So, I want to remind our listeners, if you're not in our Facebook group, go to printondemandcast.com/Facebook. It'll take you to the group, ask to be a member, and you can be a part of the discussion. We've had some really cool, discussions in there, and the group's not very big yet, and we're already having a lot of interaction. So, go ahead and join us in the Facebook group. And John, once again, thanks so much for doing that, and then agreeing to come on and actually, get on a video camera and have a conversation. Josiah and I really appreciate it, man.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. Love the podcast.
Well, thank you to John West for coming on for the Point of Interest. It's really cool that he took time out of his schedule to share knowledge. And that's why I'm super excited about this Facebook group, is because it gives you guys the opportunity to tell us stuff that we might not know. Yep. And then we can work together, and a rising tide lifts all ships. So it's super exciting. Travis, how was it speaking with John?
John's a really cool dude. We actually probably spoke for another hour after the Point of Interest, talked about laser. He does a lot of laser engraving, and he's got an epilogue, we've got epilogues here. And so we talked a little bit about that. And he was also asking me about Order Desk and, just different things about scaling, which is actually a great segue.
Yeah, it is a great segue to this week's main event of this episode. We're going to be talking about scaling. And because we're here in person, we are live interacting with each other on this episode. It gives a whole new dynamic to the show. We thought we would see that live interaction and raise it another experience dynamic by giving you guys a live bumper.
Ooh, Come on. Here we go. You ready for this?
Give it a shot.
You ready for this?
You got to imagine, instead of sailing, it says the word scaling.
And that's all you get, guys. That's it.
That is the teaser. If there is ever a print on demand cast weekend convention get together, there will be more of that. Live singing.
Lots of it.
Karaoke night will probably be a must for something like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Because we both enjoy the karaoke, and I think the listeners would love to see more of that.
We could actually
a lip sync battle.
We could do like karaoke from our bumpers.
That's true.
Oh, that would be super fun.
That would be fun. Lip sync battles, karaoke. So many things could happen. Which, by the way, while we're talking here, if you're watching the YouTube video, you're seeing that we're both wearing some really dope PODcast hats, leather patches engraved with the laser.
Welcome to my underground lair. You're just in time. Enjoy the show.
Which is really, really nice. Awesome quality. So very, very cool. So let's talk about scaling, Travis, after all of this nonsense that's been happening for the past 5 minutes. I feel we're going to talk a little bit about scaling because, the goal, of course, is to grow the business that we're working on, whether you're starting as a side hustle or you're doing it full time. Either way, there's a shared goal of wanting to scale this into something that becomes a viable business, or as your wife likes to say, a big boy business.
Big boy business.
So let's talk about scaling and what that means. So we want to talk about 3 components of scaling. Why don't you kick it off with something that I think you have tremendous strength in this particular first one, because every time you talk about how you are doing this, I get I'm not scaling envy because that's weird, but like organizational envy or something like that. So tell the people about the first component that we're going to talk about.
Yeah. So the first one is organization and systems.
Yeah.
I mean, it really, if you plan to scale your business, you have to dig into the details.
Yeah.
You just, there's no other way.
Yeah.
We do have, we talked about this, my organization system, the way I organize like our designs and the way we do our SKU structure and all that in episode 10. So if you haven't checked that out,
it's in the archives. I always wanted to say that. It's in the archives. I Failed Yourself season 1.
That's right. Yeah. So that being said, it can be really kind of boring or mundane to talk about the details in the organization. But like I said, you have to. So there's a few things that we talked about, like again, on episode 10, talking about your digital assets, your listing pictures, your actual designs, and then, like how you're going to organize your SKUs. If you use UPCs, how you're going to organize your design links, all of those things. We talk all about that in episode 10. So we're not going to get into that a ton, but that's kind of step one, and then you go further with that, and you really, in order to scale your business, you need to get into SOPs. Yeah,
SOPs are wildly important.
SOP stands for Standard Operating Procedures.
Correct.
And why don't you tell us about the SOPs?
Yeah, like I said, they're vital to the success of your business. It lays the groundwork for the building that you want to build or the thing you want to scale up.
Right.
Organization and SOPs act as the ground floor. So you can have SOPs for a lot of different things. One is HR, hiring, job descriptions. What does it look like when you're going to hire someone? What are the qualifications? What's the hiring process? I've worked for companies that they were really great companies, but the Achilles heel that they had was their hiring process. The SOPs for the hiring process was not as strong as they needed to be. So it resulted in bad hires and a lot of a high volume of turnover in employees. And we traced the causation to the fact that, the SOPs for the hiring process are very, very loose. And so we had to tighten that up in order to secure the right people and get the people in the right positions. So it's stuff like, who do you want to hire? What's the positions? Are they going to be doing your marketing? Are they going to do your shipping? Are they going to do your production? Are they VAs? Are you going to outsource this help? Is it US based? Travis, tell us a little bit more your thoughts on the HR aspect of SOPs and what it could be used for to help scale.
Yeah, I think having some type of an onboarding packet. And we have an onboarding packet when we hire, U.S.-based employees. They come in, they've got to fill out all the stuff, and all of that stuff that we're being the big boy business in this. We're stepping up to the plate, and we're becoming like a legitimate business by presenting them with a welcome letter and all of the the legal documentation and all of those things, like an employee handbook that says how many days off they get, all of those things. And those welcome packets are going to vary a little bit based on who. Like if you're hiring overseas workers, but I still think, your VA should get a welcome packet when they come on, and they should feel a part of the business as much as you can make them a part of the business.
That's huge. I think that's something too. When we talk about virtual assistants, that aspect, it might be underplayed by us, the business owners or the coworkers, what have you, the owners, but VAs want to feel like they are just as much a part of the team as the people here on in your shop, in your production facility. So doing stuff like that, like a welcome letter, a packet, incentivizing them, or Christmas bonuses, or just like stuff like that. You'll find in that culture, it's huge, like especially in the Philippine culture, that kind of stuff goes such a long way in making your VAs happy. So another area, Travis, SOPs are good for is production processes.
Right. Yeah. We've been actually, one of our things that came out of our strategic planning sessions that we did a few months ago, or last month, I guess we finally finished them, was the need for specific SOPs for the production processes. And so what that means is that all of my production techs have met with my production manager and my operations manager, and they've basically kind of outlined all of the things or all of the different SOPs that they actually need. And now it's the production tech and the production supervisor to actually produce those, to get those down on paper. Then Amy, my operations manager, she'll take all of that and kind of put it into our system. And she has an assistant VA that helps her kind of organize all of that and make it look pretty, but it starts with going through and if you got a DTG machine, well, what is your strategy for inventory? How do you pre-treat? What what button do you push?
Right.
When someone comes into your, during Q4, you're going to probably need temps, and having all of those SOPs for how you do production is going to help you immensely. Yeah. And if you can split them up into different bite-sized chunks, you can let that temp only do this one piece, and it's very easy. Right. They won't get overwhelmed and bogged down with all the minutia of the rest of the stuff. Yeah. All of this stuff, all of these SOPs, I did want to mention, these are imperative if you ever decide to sell your business. Right. If you choose to sell it, in the future, and it's not just important if you have your own production facility. Yeah. When I was drop shipping, I had VAs, I had an operations manager. We still built SOPs. In fact, the next item on our list for SOPs, basically that's for everybody. Yeah. Go ahead and talk about that one.
So product creation or listing processes. So you're going to want to know, again, whether it's your VA, whether it's someone that's in your staff in your office, or even if it's you yourself, creating those listing processes, because listing products are different from listing a shirt, is different from listing a mug, and the variations and what that looks like. So you want to have a really fleshed out and clean process that you could literally just hand, like you were saying, for production, hand them the SOP, and that person feels comfortable where they're not going to get overwhelmed. And when, for our production, we have a production Bible that we basically have built, and it's an SOP for every item that they can, look at. So for product creation and listing process, it's very, very imperative to have SOPs. And it comes back also to episode 10 in your digital asset organization, because that's what you're going to be listing for sale, is those digital assets and those digital designs, depending on what you're going to list them on is up to you. But it comes back to having a good system for those particular assets.
Yeah. So, totally. Yeah. And then the next one, you need SOPs for your customer service. Yeah. We've been, so that's everything from like someone messaging you saying, hey, I got the wrong order, or, my coffee mug was broken. It's all of that stuff, but and how do you handle that? Who handles that? All of those things. But it's also like if you're doing custom orders, and how that, information flow goes back and forth between your customer and your production tech, or whoever's taking that information and putting it into a form that you can actually produce a product and get it to the client, or get it to your end customer. And then for us, I've been spending this whole week, I've been spending on Order Desk and ShipStation, and trying to get them to talk together and figuring out a customer service flow for onboarding our clients that we're going to produce for. Sure. And you alluded to in the beginning, but that's one of the reasons you're here. Yeah. Because Josiah came over because he's going to be selling some of the products that we do, and you can tell them about what you're doing.
Yeah, I'm going to be selling a line of hats like this that are leather, laser engraved leather patches on hats. And it's, of course, something that we don't do in-house, but we want to outsource to do, because I think they'll sell really well for the collection that I've launched. Yeah. And so I came over here because Travis is going to set me up with an order desk, and then we're going to figure out how it's going to work when orders come in, what that process looks like. Right. And I'm kind of a guinea pig or beta test on the order desk process, which is awesome, because I have curiosity about order desk on both the client side and also the person that would be onboarding. So it makes a lot of sense. But that's why I came here, because after we're done recording the podcast, we're going to set that up and try and flesh out a system that works. But onboarding your clients the SOPs is vital.
Documenting all of that. Like it's one thing to just say, here's your order desk store. Sure. Good luck.
Yeah. Best of luck.
But actually, I mean, I've been doing videos for, and writing out, push here, click here, fill this thing out, upload it here, and all of those things. So that's just one example of an SOP that you would use as, for the customer service side of your business. So, I mean, we've probably missed some SOPs. Sure. Because every single thing in your business could have and should have, if I could be so bold, an SOP. Particularly, again, if you want to sell it someday, or even if you want to be an operator that's not necessarily in the office every day. We'll have somebody else manage it. Well, having those SOPs is one step closer to that goal.
Yeah, and if we have missed an SOP, I'm going to be looking for notification that John West has posted to the group and let us know of an SOP that we missed. But Travis is correct, 100%. Whatever you want to do, whatever direction you want to go, SOPs need to be put in place, whether you want to sell it, the business one day, whether you want to be the guy that's, sitting on the beach and having someone else run the business. That all has to be in place for it to continue to scale after you step out of a full-time role or full-time capacity. So, and one thing that scaling definitely requires is continual improvement.
Yeah.
Like revising your processes. Like just because you write an SOP, don't think that you're not going to have to go back and revise that SOP quarterly or yearly or whatever, because things change, things evolve, things will be different as you grow. But allowing yourself to always revise those things is something that's vital to growth.
Yeah, it's one of those, Six Sigma kind of, high level management training things. They talk about, being lean and the waste and all of those things. And I don't know enough about it to really pontificate about it, but we could have somebody, but good word.
Pontificate. Yeah. It's a $5 word.
It is. But we could have somebody on and talk about that, because I think that would be a fascinating podcast, and it would also help us a lot. Yeah. But one of the core, tenets of Six Sigma is continual improvement. Yeah. And, Amy, I love that she's my operations manager. This is like part of her DNA is continual improvement. And so, we went through these strategic planning sessions, and this will be an annual thing that we continually do. Yeah. And we'll probably revisit this. We could potentially revisit it again. I don't know if we'll do a full-blown strategic planning session again this year, but we'll definitely look at our strategic goals and continually improve the SOPs that we just made. Yeah. We're making them right now. I guarantee in 6 months, they won't look the same because we're going to figure out we're going to break things and we're going to have to fix them. So those really, like when you're thinking about organization and systems, which are key, and it's literally like the first component of scaling. And it actually flows into the other ones we're going to talk about. But when you're thinking about all of those organization and systems, it really does come down to continually improving them. Yeah. However you do it. When I first started with print on demand, I didn't have a SKU naming system, and I just went with what I went with, and then eventually I redid it and I made it better. Yeah. And you know what? We're still doing that as we add new products. We got to figure out, well, how are we going to add this? And so it is a continual thing to do continuous improvement. Yeah. So what's the next one that when we talk about what's the second component of scaling, Josiah?
Yeah, research and development and product development. So it can look a little different depending on whether you're drop shipping or producing. So for drop shipping, if you're going to do research and development, it looks like, we're doing design research, which we just last week dropped the episode with Michael Essick about designs, which was fascinating hearing his process. If you haven't availed yourself of that episode, please do so. It's last week's episode, and there's also the video of it on our YouTube channel. So design research is huge, right? And that's what you're gonna. That's what's gonna set you apart from everybody else is what kind of designs you put out there. So you're gonna want to look at trends. You're gonna look at styles. You're gonna want to do the research on what's coming up. Is the trend past? Is it about to hit? Are you in the middle of it? What's that look like? So you're gonna have to do a lot of design research if you're drop shipping. That's gonna be the primary goal is just finding designs that work. And then products drop shipping looks like quality testing. Ordering samples from different suppliers or get something from Printful and then Printify or whoever you're fulfilling from, you're going to need product samples, because I found with the people that we fulfill for, offering them free samples is huge, because then they can have their hands on it. They can intelligently speak to their base about what they have. And then when they're wearing it in their videos or whatever, it's a huge selling point because they're actually physically wearing it. So, but Travis, you were saying, before we started recording, take it with a grain of salt when it comes to the samples from your suppliers.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of expect for a producer to put their best foot forward when they send you samples.
Sure.
They might do the highest setting on that DTG print or what, who knows?
Right.
You can't really know. Unfortunately, you've got to trust them at some level, but do take it with a grain of salt, because they may have a sample level of print and an order level of print. Unfortunately, that's the world we live in. So, and it goes back to, kind of having that relationship with your producer or with your supplier, if you can, if that's a possibility. Sure. If you can get,
picking up a phone and having that.
Obviously, we are very biased towards the mom and pop production facility, because we both run one. Yeah. But I think there's something to be said for that. When you have that communication.
Yeah. In fact, I can say, so Jason, my father-in-law, who I run the business with at For Apparel, he had a conversation with this guy on Etsy, who I'll have to show you a shop after we're done here, because it's hilarious what he's doing.
Okay.
But we're talking about fulfilling, taking over his fulfillment, and he's using the equivalent of a big box, print on demand supplier, one of the big boys. And in that conversation Jason was having with him, and I was in the room on speaker as a conference call, was like, listen, we might not be able to beat them in pricing, but if you have a problem, you can call me.
Yeah.
And the Etsy shop owner was like, sold, because it takes me weeks to resolve a single issue with these guys. I can't get a hold of anybody. Yeah. It's just not doable. So if you're a small, mom and pop shop, like we run, use that to your advantage, because it's huge to be able to tell people like, we can pick up the phone. And if someone gets a print that wasn't up to the sample quality, you can call us on it and we'll rectify, or we'll make that right, or maybe something went wrong. We have a client that we fulfill for who he was using a guy out of Ohio, and he got print samples and they were fantastic. And this shop also fulfills for like the NFL, all this crazy stuff.
Oh, wow.
Well, then like 2 months down the line, this guy was sending out orders that were missing sleeve prints, tag prints. A couple shirts went out with no front print, just a sleeve print. And it took our client weeks to resolve any of those issues. And those are glaring issues. Yeah, we can all agree.
Those are pretty
it's not
big
just
things.
Like, hey, this looks a little faded. This is like, hey, it's blank.
There's no print on it.
I'm confused here. So take it with a grain of salt. But again, if you have the ability to establish a connection, or maybe you have a rep with your supplier or your fulfillment partner, it's huge. So Travis, if you're producing your own products, what does research and development look like in that way?
Yeah. I mean, obviously you're going to also do, you're going to focus on the design and the trends, because, you mentioned it. When you're drop shipping, everybody has access to all the same products, and it's relatively the same for people who are producing their own products. There's only so many things that we can print on. You can obviously innovate and that's very important, as you should. But your designs really are the thing that's going to set you apart, and your trend research, finding out what is popular, that's so vital too. So it doesn't matter if you're drop shipping or producing your products, that's still going to be the same. Yeah. But if you are producing your own products, you have the ability to probably quickly kind of test some new products. So for instance, if you have a sublimation printer and you've got a flat press and you're doing shirts, you're sublimating shirts or whatever, perhaps you could try some puzzles. We've talked about puzzles on the podcast before. You could try, some flip-flops. You can sublimate flip-flops. There are 100, probably 1,000 different things you could sublimate with a flat press and a sublimation printer.
100%. I can think of, we do masks, socks.
Yep, socks.
Yep. And then, of course, like aprons. We do aprons for Etsy clients, and those are sublimatable. So there's a lot of stuff that you can branch into. Specifically, we use sublimation because it is so wide open as opposed to DTG, where you're going to have some limitations. But sublimation, there seems to be, from coasters to Christmas ornaments to dog bowls to it's everywhere.
Right.
So a part of that also is, in the testing process, is expect that you're going to incur some loss because you're going to burn one, you're going to break something. I was telling Travis, I was telling you before we pressed record, we recently brought on wine tumblers that are sublimatable.
Yep.
And it has taken us, I think yesterday.
That taper is a pain in the butt.
I'm telling you what, dude, it is a challenge. And it took our sub guy yesterday he probably burned through 4 of them, and they're not, like the 11-ounce mugs are much cheaper. So every time you burn a wine tumbler, it hurts a little bit more because they're a little bit more expensive.
Right.
But he was like, I don't think we should offer these. So I had to like walk him through like, no, dial back the temperature, dial back the time, think about what's going wrong and what you would think would solve that. So it just takes a lot to do that. And the flip side of that coin is, do not offer, and I'm speaking from experience, do not offer the product until you know that you can offer it. So what happened in this instance with the wine tumblers is my wife put the cart in front of the horse and was like, yes, we can. and then it put us behind the 8 ball to test and produce. Yeah. So it wouldn't be such a contentious subject if there wasn't the fact that there were orders already sitting in our queue for these items.
Exactly.
So make sure that if you can't offer it and you can't pull it off to what you feel is your level of expertise or your level of quality of the product, the finished product, just don't offer it. Yeah. Keep research and developing and finding different ways to pull it off, but don't put yourself in a position where you're forced to have to do it because there's already people buying the product. Because I can tell you from experience, it's not fun. So,
right.
So, so Travis, we talked about these hats being laser engraved and the hats you're doing for my collection.
Yeah.
Leather patches for laser. Tell us a little bit about, it was a new process to you when you got when you opened up the new shop.
Right.
So tell us a little bit about, what it was like for you in learning the new process and some things that people that are learning a new process need to keep in mind when going forward.
Sure. I mean, like in particular, just talking about laser, the way you laser a tumbler or a water bottle, you have a rotary, or maybe you have a jig and you have a larger lens. It allows you to not have to rotate them because the lens is larger, and you can get a better or a wider angle to actually laser, which is something that we're looking into. But we do have rotaries, so it's just you have to do them one at a time that way. But if you're doing a rotary, it's going to have a different power setting. It's going to have a different speed, than it is for like these leather hats. So for every single, process or product that you're doing, particularly on laser, but on sub too, it's going to have a different time. We call it a recipe. There's just, you have to have a recipe book for these different products, these different processes, because it's going to have a different time, a different speed, a different pressure if it's sub, a different, you might even need a different file type. As a matter of fact, I actually realized that I tried to do a patch hat with somebody's PNG they gave me, and it didn't work. I had to convert it to an SVG file to make it work. So there's different things like that maybe had I had the Epilogue guy out here and trained me, from day one, I would have figured, that would have. And maybe somebody who is doing somebody who is doing laser, is thinking, come on, Travis, you know better than that. But the fact is, there are things that you have to learn, and you do have to test these things. And if you don't, you're gonna get into the wine tumbler.
Yeah, the wine tumbler scenario.
Yeah.
No, I love the word recipe because even when we were learning DTG. When we first got our printer, we looked up all the recommended times and settings, and we did it just like that website said. And
I know where you're going with this.
This sucks. I don't like the way this turned out at all. So then you go to another person. You're like, okay, he said do a little bit different. Okay, no, that's still not offended. So it's a recipe because much like recipes, when you have it in your own kitchen, you're going to add a little bit of your own flair, maybe not do this, add that, whatever, and then make it your own for your particular production process. So it's good to find a starting point of recommendations of time, temp, setting, all that kind of stuff. But just know that it's also going to require you to be a little flexible and kind of experiment some more beyond that and make the perfect recipe for your particular business.
Exactly.
Which was a huge learning curve for us because we were really disappointed in the fact that when we followed the advice on the website, it looked like
the experts.
Shit.
So I mean, we do similar products, and I guarantee we do them differently.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had a conversation with Tate, your son, your production manager, who actually gave us the idea for this episode. For the main event. So
shout out to Tate.
Tate comes in clutch for this one for sure. But when we came to we were picking something up from here. First time I checked the space out, he and I just had a quick 15-minute conversation in your DTG room. And he was like, how do you do it? And I walked him through and he was like, well, that makes sense. But this is how we do it. But I think I like the way that you do it. I'm like, well, you do it however you feel is best.
Yeah.
But we get the same result. We just get there going two different ways. We just went on the other side of the path and ended up at the same place. But it's a fascinating conversation to have with people. Like, you do what? That's interesting. I would never thought of doing that, but it looks good. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, we do similar stuff, and our processes are probably a lot different in some respects. So the next thing about scaling is machinery, new machines. You get to the point where you need a second DTG printer or a third or the new 3070, whatever. One of the things you got to think about when it comes to machines is budget. Because they are not cheap.
They are not cheap.
I think we were looking at the 3070, the Epson. That's it, right? It's like $50,000, right?
Yeah.
And
it's a baller machine.
Oh my gosh. It's a weird thing that now I look at a t-shirt printer, I'm like, that's sexy. You know what I mean? Like, I want that.
I know exactly what you mean.
So, but Jason and I were talking about just budget wise and what volume numbers do we have to hit to justify that purchase to where it would pay itself off in a year and saved ink and saved labor. And in one of our machines, the warranty, we can't re-up next year. So what are we going to do? We're going to sell that one. So it's a whole budget is something you got to make sure that you have that space, that capital to invest in that machine. And then again, figuring out how long is this thing going to take before it pays itself off? What's the return on my investment and how quick is that going to happen? And it's good to get references from others. We had a guy that we both knew, went to Vegas with him. Actually, we met him in Vegas, I think, for one SGIA. And he lived and died by Brother Printers.
Oh, yeah.
Remember?
Oh, okay. Now I know who you're talking about. I was like, which guy was that?
Yeah. Vegas stories are another episode for behind a paywall someday. But, so, no, but he lived and died by brothers. And I was telling him, we're thinking about Epson. And he was like, you're going to just make the biggest mistake and you're going to regret every decision you made, and you're going to find yourself wondering.
He was kind of rude about it
he
too.
Was very,
which was shocking because he was like the nicest guy.
He was a very nice guy.
And then when we started talking about looking at Epson,
I think it was a combination of Epson printers and copious amounts of alcohol.
Probably.
I think probably brought out.
Maybe he's an angry drunk.
He's kind of he was dickish, but yeah, he was like, you're going to find yourself and you're regretting every decision you made and why were you born type stuff if you get a Brother printer. So there's so many
Epson printer.
Yeah. There's so many different ways to go about it. There's so many different brands and machines. And one thing we were talking about, Travis, is when you're looking for someone. For a reference, for insight, we don't want to say don't trust a brand's rep, but don't
trust a brand's rep.
Because I mean, if you go to a Verizon store and say, hey, who's better, you or AT&T?
Right.
9 times, 10 times out of 10, I know I worked for them. You're going to say Verizon, and you're going to say all the good things about Verizon and all the bad things about AT&T. And then that's it. So you're not really getting a full, unbiased opinion.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's loads of websites you can go to find actual people who are using the machines every single day. A lot of people have used multiple machines. They've used the Brother and the Epson, and they've used the Chinese one that they got and they threw out in the trash after a month or whatever. Or maybe they're still using it and they love it and they swear by it. Yeah. I mean, that's that. There are a lot of people out there doing these different processes. Is it a find somebody who's used a Mamaki UV printer before, an Epilog laser printer, or a laser engraver, and actually get their opinion on this thing because. Like you said, the brand reps are great at pointing out all of the amazing things that their machines can do. And to be fair, their machines can do amazing things.
Sure.
It's just a matter of what aren't you telling me? And you can't know that until you have that machine in your, I mean, there are things about the Epson we just talked about. Oh, it was great. The Brother probably does better, but the Epson's been fine for us. We figured it out,
We've had no problem with it. And it's about knowing what works best for what you're doing.
Exactly.
Right? So, you get caught up in, well, Brother's more expensive or Epson's more expensive, and that must mean it's better. Blah. You just need to just follow your intuition on what you feel is best for you when it comes to, price tag, budget, what you're going to be doing with the machine. You might not need all the bells and whistles of a crazy high-end printer or whatever. You do whatever you feel is best. And like Travis said, there's tons of websites and forums you can go to find out, and you just have to GTS. Just Google that. Well, our notes say ship.
Yeah. But, sailing takes me away. Okay.
Yeah. I always think of the Styx song. Is it Styx? I'm sailing away.
Nice. Yeah, that is.
I'm scaling away.
How do you scale away, though?
Well, you said an open course for the. Okay, so anyway,
moving on.
The third. What is what I'm looking?
What was it called?
Component.
Component. That's the one.
Scaling component. This is what you get when we're in person.
I know.
So maximizing your assets. Tell us a little bit about that, Travis. And we talked about digital assets and the organization and that kind of stuff. But when it comes to maximizing your assets, what are we talking about?
Yeah, I mean, the bottom line is that your designs and your mock-ups, they are assets. Yeah. They are your assets. Yep. And so you should utilize them to the fullest capacity of your business. And you should use them as much as you possibly can. So one of the things that, is kind of the easiest first step is other channels. Yeah. Or if you're on Redbubble, well, are you on Etsy? If you're on Merch by Amazon, are you on Redbubble? Are you on Amazon? Yeah. Are you on Walmart? Are you on Wish, Wayfair, Bonanza, eBay? The list goes on and on and on. What about Shopify? I mean, that's a whole other conversation. And we talk a lot about, building a brand. Well, if you don't have a brand on Shopify, you're going to have a hard time making sales. I'm in a couple of Facebook groups where, that these people are being, it's like a Facebook group for somebody who just, got a course and they're jumping into this whole thing and they're learning, Facebook ads and how to set up their Shopify account and all this stuff. And I'm saddened because there are so many posts talking about, these people saying, I've set up my Shopify account. I've been doing Facebook ads for 30 days, for 60 days, for 3 months. And I've not had one sale, or I've had 2 sales the entire time. And one of them was my mom. Yeah. It's a bummer. So, I mean, when you're talking about Shopify, I would recommend going the branding route and not going the mile wide, inch deep route, and utilizing every single design you have on that Shopify store. That's gonna take a more focused effort. So I don't want to get off track on that, but I just wanted to mention when I'm talking about all these other channels, because the temptation could be, well, just treat Shopify like every other store. The thing about Shopify is that you have to drive your own traffic. Yeah,
there's no organic traffic on that platform. So like with Etsy, Amazon, Walmart, all these other places, you're getting some people that will happen upon what you're offering, organically speaking. And I know, Shopify is hard. I think there is a misnomer. I had this conversation with someone today that was like, well, we have all these assets and these designs. Maybe we should just put up a store. And I was like, well, I don't want to do that, because I think we should be pretty specifically drilled down into a niche and a brand, which, when launching, the Dangerous Freedom collection that I'm doing now, it's pretty niche down to a specific, like it's a good branding opportunity to where if I wanted to launch my own site or Shopify site, it would be easier because it's for very specific.
Yeah, you got to really niche down.
Really niche down into who's your target audience. And, because running Facebook ads for a Shopify store that's just another novelty T-shirt site, best of luck. And it's not going to be easy. Yeah. So that, it's definitely one thing to keep in mind when it comes to diversifying your channel offerings, for sure. Yeah. Another thing is marketing. Yeah. Online marketing, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. I think a couple weeks ago, I started a TikTok for apparel, and literally just did, here's how you print a shirt, and little 15-second videos, and here's really mugs, cool. and so I'm going to do one about our services and what we can offer you, and then every once in a while, some funny stuff, and then once in a while pitch the company, but So TikTok's a huge way to market because you're going to get a lot of people's attention, or more organic traffic. I mean, you kind of have to learn the algorithm, which is the same for every social media platform. But using it to marketing, and then you even partnering with, because we work with TikTokers, we're asking people that we partner with to stitch or duet or share our TikTok and drive traffic to our page. So that Instagram and of course Facebook and Pinterest are great forms of marketing. Travis, I know you've done some Facebook ads. Have you dabbled in Instagram or Pinterest at all?
I haven't really. Pinterest is like, it's that opportunity lost to me. I mean, it's like I've thought, man, if I could have known Pinterest for when I started really kind of getting into Etsy, I think like Pinterest and Etsy go together like, peanut butter and jelly.
Yes.
And, so if you have that opportunity, if you understand that stuff, I really do think you can drive external traffic to your Etsy store, which Etsy loves when you drive external traffic. It actually, I think it actually gives you a little boost in the algorithm when you're driving that external traffic. I think probably most of these channels do, even Amazon, I mean, I don't know that for a fact because they keep their algorithm pretty locked up. Close to the vest. But all these marketing opportunities, you may not have time for all of these things. So we could go back to that top, that part where we were talking about scaling and doing SOPs and HR and hiring people. And you may need to hire a marketing person that knows some of these things. And, but at the same time, if you're not at that place, maybe choose one that you're not on, and make it a goal or a strategic plan to actually post 3-4 times a week, on one of these platforms.
And consistency is king. Is the key to breaking through a lot of the noise and posting every day. It doesn't even have. I think the problem is, I know for me, I either want to post something that's entertaining or really profound or gives good insight, but it's just about posting something.
To being there.
It's being in the person's face and in the front of mind, and just posting stuff. So I'll have stuff, I don't know, 7, I'll make 7 posts and just save them. And then okay, I'm going to drop it this day and work it out that way. And just kind of bulk create content and that kind of stuff. So, it is about consistency, and that's the key. So Travis, offline, locally, what are some opportunities you can have to market?
Yeah, I think one of the things when if you have a production facility, or even if you're drop shipping, you have a unique set of skills Yeah, exactly. That people don't necessarily have. And that's how to create a t-shirt or a promotional product or something. So I encourage people to get involved in like the Chamber of Commerce. Some of those types of, they have the Rotary clubs and, all of these different clubs and things like that, where business people come together and you could, create, have networking opportunities where you're put in a position where you're actually have an opportunity to sell, a large order, like these people aren't just going to order one.
They're businessmen.
Gift. They're going to order for their whole staff or for their whole customer base or whatever. So I think that's an excellent opportunity that I don't think print-on-demand companies talk about enough, at least in our space. We're all talking about the channels and the Shopify and all this stuff. But locally, there's really opportunities. Churches, restaurants, schools. I know you guys have done a lot of restaurants, in the local area. And it's literally having a business card, going to your favorite place for lunch and saying, hey, is the owner
manager here? And it's a lot like
striking up a conversation.
It's a lot like, back in the days of retail arbitrage of like, hey, is the manager here?
Is the manager here?
We want to kind of talk, business and maybe come up with a good idea. And here's the thing, and this was a talking point that I had over during 2020, where a lot of people were like, well, I can't do anything because of COVID.
Right.
And it was like, well, that might be true in part, but also don't let that be a crutch for your inactivity, because churches, restaurants, and schools needed some funds, needed a way to raise money, needed ways to stay afloat and get support out in the community. And print on demand is the perfect way to do that. And so, even in the most trying times during lockdowns or quarantines or whatever, people are still going online and still availing themselves of products. So if you have the ability to partner with a church or a restaurant or a school, or, you meet, your local electrician or whatever in the Chamber of Commerce, there's tons of stuff and tons of ways to do that online.
We just got some new shelves. If you follow me on Instagram, you saw I did some in Facebook. I did some things where I showed the shelves, and the guy who actually put them up for me, he's in my place. He's seen all these shirts. He's going to come back. He's going to get some shirts from me. Yeah. It's all about just those connections you can make and networking, as often as you possibly can, because you never know where people are at, what they need. Totally. And if you can solve a problem for them, regardless if you have the ability to do it in-house or if you have
outsource it.
You can outsource it to Printify. I guarantee you're probably still going to get a better price than, he's going to go try to figure it out himself. He doesn't have time for that.
Sure.
And you're solving a problem. And we've always said, that's what business is.
Yeah. That's the biggest service you can offer. I've always told people, I had a conversation last night with a good friend who is in social media marketing. And he's talking to a client about building a site and whatever, a Shopify site. And I said, listen, people will pay for something that they don't know how to do because you're solving a problem. They don't have the time to figure out how to build a whole Shopify store. Yeah. Someone didn't have the time to go figure out how to transfer T-shirts.
I didn't have time to go to Sears where they're closing and buy and get all those shelves and bring them back.
You paid someone to do it.
Paid someone to do it.
Absolutely.
He solved my problem.
Yeah, exactly. So, and again, all of this comes down to that foundational element of organization.
Right.
You have to be organized and have a really clear plan of attack and the SOPs in place to, okay, we're going to partner with the church. Okay, what's the SOP look like? What's the process of bringing them on board, opening up their store, or then placing an order with you? Even if it's a bulk order, what does your order system look like? What's the production flow look like? So organization is huge when it comes to your ability to scale. Yeah,
it really, it may seem like a lot. And frankly, that's because it is a lot. If you want to scale, it's a lot. But that's why we talk about, having kind of that laser focus. Yeah. You're not going to be able to do all of this stuff this year. Yeah. But you can create the plan for how you want to tackle all of these things and then decide which are the most important for your business, and then tackle those things. You can get those, a few things down, and then you can save those other things for next year as you're continuing to grow. Don't be the shiny object person that's like constantly going around, looking to the next thing.
Yeah, like 6 things that are half done. And
things and then nothing's and nothing's actually getting done. Yeah, just exactly.
Yeah, so it's baby steps. So think about what about Bob? Right. The old movie with Bill Murray, baby steps to the apartment, baby steps out the door. Like, it's all about baby steps and just getting yourself in a position where that next year is when you're going to hit the go button and be able to scale because you've taken the steps to be able to do that.
Totally.
So just to recap, the 3 components of scaling would be organization and systems, research and product development, and lastly, maximizing your assets. So, Travis, any closing thoughts about these components before we put a bow on it?
Yeah, I think, just what we said, bite-sized chunks, baby steps. And because it is a lot. I mean, I know if I would have listened to this when I was first starting, I'd be like, oh,
I quit.
I just quit. I'm done. I'll never get there. Yeah. And it could have. I just want to speak to that person that's feeling that heaviness right now. It's don't feel heavy, because you can accomplish something.
Right.
Even, and again, I don't want to, kind of beat a dead horse, but it really does come down to just deciding what you're going to do and having laser focus on that until you're done, and then do the next thing. Yeah. And the in my opinion, the best thing that you can start on is to start on the plan itself.
Right.
Lay out the plan on how you're going to create all these SOPs. Which SOPs are most important? You may not need HR because you're not going to hire anybody for a while.
It's you and your mom.
Exactly. So, lay out the plan, get started, let that be your laser focus. And then from there, you will have that roadmap that can get you to scaling.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So that's it, guys. We had a good time with this episode.
This was fun.
Being in person.
I know we need to do this more often.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Jinx, you owe me a water.
Okay.
It's okay. It's right here.
Cheers.
Awkward moment for you. All right. Anyway,
I wonder if the listeners like prefer this, or if they're like, man, guys, go back to your own offices. You're not as awkward there.
Yeah, I feel like they're getting more of the experience as if we were hanging out with us in person.
I know.
We actually really reined it in as far as side trails and dad jokes today.
We did.
But let us know what you prefer, because you can go to printondemandcast.com/Facebook and let us know, like, guys, never do this again, or make it a monthly thing, or maybe we'll go live once a month and do it in person. My office, his office, who knows? We're open to suggestions, and you can give us those suggestions at info@printondemandcast.com as well. You can email us, reach out to us, let us know if you have any questions. We always love hearing from you guys, if not on the Facebook group there as well. And of course, printondemandcast.com is where to go to get more information about the podcast. And you can find us on all the major podcast platforms: Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you find your podcasts. There, the Podcast is there for you as well. So if you have time, please give us a 5 stars, preferably.
5 stars.
Yeah.
Definitely 5 stars.
I feel like the live bumper is 5-star worthy in and of itself. So,
scaling takes me away where I always forgot the word.
Yeah. Prepubescent moan. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for listening. For Travis, I'm Josiah, and we'll see you next time right here on the Print on Demand Cast.
See ya.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Print on Demand Cast. We hope you enjoyed the show. If you've got a question or a suggestion for the show, send Travis and Josiah an email at info@printondemandcast.com. Take a minute to rate and review the show on iTunes or wherever you get your podcast. And don't forget to subscribe now so you don't miss next week's episode. See you next week.
That's so good.
A prepubescent moan.
That needs to go in the outtakes.
Yeah.
Just that little phrase. That prepubescent moan. Oh, goodness. If people only knew.
Yep.